First contact or first awkward moment. The stars looked quiet from the small window of the patrol ship Falcon 7, but inside, things were not calm. Human soldier Jack Renner stared at the blinking red signal on his screen. A distress call. Unknown origin, unknown language, unknown ship. "Captain, we found something strange," Jack said into the comms. A voice replied from Earth Command, "Proceed with caution. Send us visuals. Don't engage unless necessary." Jack pressed a few buttons. The ship slowed as it neared a floating structure. It looked like a giant silver flower in space, slowly opening. It didn't look broken or damaged, but the distress signal was clear. "This is Falcon 7 responding to your signal," Jack said, trying all frequencies. "Do you need help?" A few seconds later, a voice answered. Calm. Deep. Female. Yes, human. "We have been expecting someone. Docket Bay." The voice had no emotion, but the words were in perfect English. Jack blinked. How do they know our language already? He followed the instructions and connected his ship to the alien vessel. The airlock opened. Jack stepped into the unknown. The hallway was tall, too tall for humans. The lights were soft blue. The floor felt warm. As Jack walked, a door opened ahead. And there she stood, 7 feet tall, long armored body, a helmet with glowing eyes. Her skin, or was it armor, was smooth and dark, silver. Her voice matched the one from the radio. "I am Ambassador Threxia of the Hilari Union," she said. "Welcome, human." Jack kept his cool. He saluted slightly. "Lieutenant Jack Renner, Earth Federation. I received your distress signal." Threxia stepped closer. Her body was slim but strong-looking. But something caught Jack's attention. There was a visible bulge between her legs. It wasn't huge, but clearly part of her suit. It moved slightly as she walked. Jack looked at it, just for a second, and quickly looked away. He tried to stay professional, but Threxia noticed. She stopped, her glowing eyes narrowed. "Human, does the bulge between my legs intrigue you?" she asked calmly. "Is that why you are acting strange?" Jack's face turned red. What? No, I didn't mean, I wasn't, I just... Threxia tilted her head. "You looked directly at it. Twice. It's just, I didn't expect, never mind," Jack said, clearly uncomfortable. Threxia didn't smile, but her voice sounded like she was amused. "You do not need to fear, human. Among my kind, the bulge is a symbol of authority. Only leaders wear it." Jack cleared his throat. "Oh, well, in my culture that would mean something else." "Explain," she said. Jack looked away. "It's kind of personal. Human biology. Let's just say it would be awkward." Threxia paused, then turned and walked ahead. "Your customs are strange, but amusing. Come, we have much to discuss." As Jack followed her, he whispered under his breath, "First contact, and I already. Embarrassed Earth." The hallway opened into a large chamber. Strange glowing orbs floated in the air. Some alien technology pulsed on the walls. There were other beings, guards maybe, standing silently. All tall, all armored, all with the same bulge. Jack didn't know where to look. A small machine floated toward him. "Translator calibration complete," it beeped. "Miscommunication risk 6%. Jack sighed in relief. "Great. Maybe now I won't say something stupid." Threxia turned to him again. "We called you here for a reason. Our ship detected human transmissions. We believe your species is ready to join the Outer Alliance." "That's surprising," Jack said. "Most aliens ignore us or see us as primitive." "You are primitive," Threxia replied flatly. "But interesting, dangerous too. We watch closely." Jack didn't know if that was a compliment or a threat. Then the lights flickered. A loud hum echoed through the chamber. Threxia looked at the ceiling. "That is not normal." The guards moved quickly. "What's happening?" Jack asked. "Unknown," she replied. "It may be a breach, or sabotage." Jack reached for his weapon, but Threxia held up a hand. "No weapons, not yet." Follow me. As they rushed down another hallway, Jack whispered, and I thought the worst part of today was the bulge, lost in translation. The hallway lights kept flickering as Jack followed Ambassador Threxia. The silver walls of the alien ship seemed to pulse with energy. The sound of his boots echoed strangely, almost as if the ship itself was listening. Threxia moved fast, her long armored legs silent against the floor. Jack tried to keep up. Behind them, her guards followed closely. They didn't speak, but their glowing helmets turned toward Jack from time to time, as if watching his every breath. "Where are we going?" Jack asked, slightly out of breath. "To the core room," Threxia said. "If someone is trying to sabotage our systems, we'll know from there." "Is this normal for your missions?" he asked. She didn't answer. That made Jack nervous. As they turned a corner, a strange humming noise grew louder. It wasn't mechanical. It sounded alive. Then the lights above them blinked out completely. A thin red emergency light lit the hallway now. Shadows danced on the walls. For a moment, Jack thought he saw something move at the end of the corridor. Threxia raised her hand. Everyone stopped. The translator sphere hovered between them. "Warning, energy fluctuation detected. Source unknown. Recommend you caution." Jack slowly reached for his sidearm again. Threxia's voice was firm. "Do not. If you draw your weapon, they will draw theirs." Jack looked behind. The guards had already shifted into battle stance, hands near their own alien weapons. "Okay, no weapons," he said, raising both hands slightly. "I'm calm." They resumed walking. The core room door was huge, circular, with glowing alien runes. Threxia touched a panel, and the door opened with a low hum. Inside, the room looked like the inside of a star. Bright lines of energy floated in the air. In the center, a giant sphere rotated slowly, like a floating planet made of glass. Inside it, small lights blinked like tiny stars. Threxia stepped forward and began speaking in her native language. A series of clicks and deep tones. The translator device tried to keep up. "Scanning core. System health. Checking for error. Unknown code detected." Jack looked at the glowing sphere. Something was off. A dark spot flickered inside it, like a crack spreading in glass. "What is that?" he asked. Threxia stared at it. "That is not supposed to be there." Suddenly, the translator floated between them and spoke in a robotic voice, different from before. "Warning. Unauthorized signal detected. Language file corrupted. Rebuilding." The lights flickered. Again. Then the translator turned to Jack and said, "You smell like weakness. Your kind will break, you will beg." Jack blinked. "Wait, what?" Threxia looked confused. "That is not what I said." The translator's voice changed again. New translation loaded. "Greetings, human. We wish peace." Jack took a step back. "What's going on with that thing?" Threxia narrowed her eyes. "I think it's been tampered with. Something is in our systems." Suddenly, the main screen lit up. A shadowy figure appeared. Not Hilari, not human, something else. Its face was covered in darkness, but its voice echoed clearly in the chamber. "The Hilari bow to humans now? You disgrace the galaxy. This alliance will never happen." The screen glitched and went black. Jack looked at Threxia. "Who was that?" She didn't answer right away. Her voice dropped. "That was a Dravari. They were banished from the Alliance centuries ago. Dangerous, smart. They speak through systems. They hide in code." Jack stared at the dark spot in the core. "And now they're inside your ship." Threxia nodded. "And they know you are here." They left the core room in silence. The translator was now flickering, its voice switching between tones. Outside, the hallway was colder. Jack could feel the tension in the air. He broke the silence. "Earlier, when I looked at your, status symbol, that caused offense, didn't it?" Threxia didn't look at him. "Among my people, to stare at the commander's rank without permission is disrespect." Some even call it a silent challenge. Jack almost tripped. Challenge, as in, like a fight? Sometimes. Or a mating ritual. Depends on context. Jack stopped walking. Wait, what? What does that mean for us right now? Threxia finally turned to him. We're already being watched. If the others believe you challenged me, you may be expected to prove yourself. Jack shook his head. I didn't mean anything by it, I was just surprised. She stared at him for a long moment. Intent does not matter here. Only perception. Jack sighed. So I may have accidentally started a war? Or a relationship? Threxia raised an eyebrow, or at least Jack thought she did. Possibly both. Suddenly, one of the guards stepped forward. Movement detected on Deck 5. Unauthorized life forms. Threxia's face went cold. The Dravari are not just in our code. They're on this ship. Jack's stomach dropped. Great. First contact and we already have hackers, invaders, and weird misunderstandings. Threxia turned to him, serious. Welcome to galactic diplomacy, human. We survive, or we burn together. The anatomy of war. The walls of the alien ship groaned as if it had a heartbeat. The hallway lights were dim, casting shadows that stretched and danced like ghosts. Jack followed closely behind Threxia as her guards moved ahead, weapons now raised, scanning for signs of intruders. The word Dravari echoed in his mind. These weren't just enemies, they were ancient, exiled, dangerous, and now, somehow on board. Deck 5 is just ahead, Threxia said. Her voice was calm, but her body was tense. Even her glowing armor seemed to flicker with energy. Stay. Behind me, Jack nodded. Gladly. They reached the junction to Deck 5. A loud clang rang from somewhere inside, like metal slamming against metal. Then another sound. A hiss, almost like breathing, but too deep and too mechanical to be human. One of the guards moved forward, opened the hatch. Something lunged. A black shape, fast and long-limbed, slammed into the guard with terrifying force. The alien soldier flew across the corridor and crashed into the wall, his body sparking with blue energy. Contact! Yelled another guard. The creature hissed again, its form glitching, like a hologram but real. Its body shimmered like it didn't belong fully in this reality. Red eyes blinked, but no mouth moved. Jack froze. His instincts screamed to run, but his training kept him still. Threxia pulled out a strange rod from her side and flicked it. It expanded into a crackling energy blade. She lunged forward fast as lightning, slashing the Dravari. Sparks flew, but the creature didn't bleed. Get back, she shouted. Jack ducked as the creature swiped toward him, missing by inches. A guard blasted it with an energy pulse, but it vanished like smoke, only to reappear behind them. It's phasing, Jack shouted. It's not fully here. Threxia growled in her native tongue, then yelled, They've fused with code, they're digital and physical now, we must get to the control deck. But if they're part of the system, can't they control the ship? Jack asked. Threxia's eyes glowed. They can try, but we have backup. They retreated from Deck 5, sealing the door behind them. The translator sphere sparked, trying to keep up. Threat level, maximum. Core stability, 71%. Time to overload, 18 minutes. Jack's heart dropped. Wait, the core's going to explode? Not unless we stop them, Threxia said. They moved quickly through the ship's main artery, a long tunnel of transparent glass. Outside, stars moved slowly. The beauty didn't calm Jack. He was too busy trying to process what he'd just seen. How did they get on board? He asked. Threxia didn't look at him. Through you. Jack blinked. Me? When your ship docked, she explained, you opened a physical bridge. They hid in your systems, they waited. Then they came through. Jack's voice dropped. So this is my fault. Not your fault, she said, but your responsibility now. They entered the control nexus, a large circular room with floating platforms and glowing holograms. Strange alien text hovered in the air. At the center, A spiral of data turned slowly, spinning like a galaxy. A console lit up. Threxia placed her hand on it. Her armor glowed in response. She spoke a command in her language. The translator responded, "Opening system memory." Searching for unauthorized code. Jack stepped forward and noticed a symbol floating in the air. A triangle with a pulsing red core. "That wasn't there before," he said. Threxia nodded. "That's Dravari code. It spreads like a virus. If it reaches the navigation systems..." "Boom?" Jack asked. "Boom," she confirmed. Suddenly, the triangle turned and a face appeared again, the same shadowy figure from the core room. "You should not have come here, human," it said. "You carry your species' weakness with pride. You open doors that should stay closed." Jack stared back. "Yeah? Well, humans also know how to shut doors, especially when something ugly tries to sneak through." The shadow laughed. "Ugly? You think in such small terms. That's why you'll lose." The console glitched. Lights burst. Sparks flew. "Too late," the Dravari whispered. Alarms blared. The translator screamed, "Core override. Countdown started. 10 minutes to failure." Threxia shouted, "We must sever the core from the bridge. Cut off their access." Jack rushed to another console. He had no idea how it worked, but he recognized shapes. Buttons, lights, logic. His fingers danced. Instinct. Pattern. He didn't understand the language, but he understood behavior. 1. Blinking symbol repeated every 3 seconds each time the Dravari code spread. "Got you," he muttered. He tapped into it, rerouted a signal, and sent a looped false data packet. The spread paused. Threxia looked over. "What did you do?" "I fed it bad code," Jack said. "Human trick, garbage in, garbage out." "Clever," she said. "For a primitive." Jack smiled slightly. "You keep saying that, starting to think it's a compliment." The countdown halted. The core stabilized to 93%, but it wasn't over. A crash echoed from behind. The Dravari creature from Deck 5 smashed through a vent, landing between Jack and Threxia. Jack didn't have a weapon. Threxia tossed him hers. The energy blade felt light but hummed with power. The creature hissed, lunging toward him. Jack stood. Firm, he whispered, "Let's see if primitive works." And he swung. Coffee and cultural confusion. The Dravari creature collapsed in a burst of sparks and glitching pixels. Jack's final swing with the energy blade had landed clean. And lucky. The creature let out a high-pitched digital scream before vanishing completely, like a program crashing. Jack stood frozen, arms shaking, breathing hard. The blade flickered, then powered down. Behind him, Threxia approached slowly, her glowing armor pulsing low. "You fought well," she said, "for someone who doesn't know what they're doing." Jack smiled weakly. "Thanks, that's kind of my specialty." Hour later, alien guest chamber, Sector 3. Jack sat in a strange round chair that pulsed every few seconds. It felt like sitting on a giant heartbeat. The room was filled with soft floating lights that changed color based on sound. Even his breathing made the walls flicker blue and green. Across from him, Threxia stood silently. No armor now, just a smooth, robe-like outfit that shimmered like water. Without her helmet, her face was alien, yes, but not monstrous. Her skin was silver gray with subtle patterns like circuitry. Her eyes were deep violet, glowing softly. Between them, a floating tray hovered in the air. 2 cups. Steam rose. From one. The other gave off a blue mist. Jack looked at both, confused. "What's this?" he asked. Threxia gestured toward the brown steaming cup. "Your file mentioned coffee. We synthesized it." Jack raised his eyebrows. "You read my file?" "Of course. Your medical history, neural profile, preference logs." She paused. "You search for potato chips far too often." Jack coughed. "That's private. Not on a Hilari ship." He cautiously sipped the coffee. It tasted almost right. Slightly sweet, slightly bitter, but not bad. "I needed this," he muttered. Threxia lifted her own cup and drank the blue mist. Our version of your caffeine. It does not taste, only stimulates. So, like emotions? Jack joked. Threxia tilted her head. I am beginning to understand your humor. It is confusing, often inefficient. He chuckled. That's how humans survive confusion. We laugh through it. Culture clash begins. There was a pause between them. Not awkward, just uncertain. Jack looked around the chamber. Strange symbols moved along the walls like fish swimming in a digital tank. What's that? He asked. Our language in fluid form, she said. It adapts to emotion. Your language changes with feelings? Jack leaned forward. So if you're angry, the words change? Yes. Which is why your translator keeps failing. Your language is based on logic. Ours is based on intention. Jack nodded slowly. That explains the earlier confusion. Threxia's expression darkened slightly. You mean the bulge? Jack nearly choked on his coffee. Yeah, that. She looked away. We are trained not to be offended by primitive cultures, but your reaction confused me. Jack sighed. It confused me. I thought I was looking at, well, you know what I thought. An organ, she said plainly. Jack turned red. Exactly. Among the Hilari, status is worn externally, she explained. It is designed for visibility. Your reaction seemed intimate, and when you looked away quickly, I assumed shame. Well, yeah. In human culture, staring there is considered rude, or flirtatious, or both. Threxia processed that. So if you accidentally look, the other assumes interest? Jack nodded, embarrassed. Pretty much. She considered him for a moment. Then when you looked at me? Jack quickly raised both hands. No, I mean yes, no, I wasn't flirting. I was just surprised. Threxia's eyes flickered. Interesting, he groaned. Please don't write that in my report. She smiled. It was the first real smile he'd seen from her. Subtle, but real. Tension returns, before the moment could. Stretch into comfort, the chamber lights pulsed red. An alarm whispered through the room. Not loud, more like a nervous heartbeat. Threxia rose immediately. What now? Jack asked, already standing. She touched the wall. A holographic screen opened. A map of the ship appeared, blinking red at the outer ring. Unauthorized transmission, someone is sending a signal off the ship. Jack's eyes widened. To who? The Dravari have allies. Pirates. War-fueled scavengers. If they know where we are. Jack finished her sentence. They'll come. Threxia touched a command pad. Seal communications. Trace the source. The screen zoomed into a sector. Human quarters. Jack stared. Wait, that's my room. She turned, slowly. You said you docked clean. I did. She narrowed her eyes. Your ship's systems may be infected. Your AI. Your comms beacon. Jack's heart raced. If they were hiding in my ship, then this isn't sabotage. It's invasion prep. A chilling realization. A deep humming sound began to rise from the floor, like the growl of something waking up. On the screen, another alert appeared. External warp signature detected. Vessels inbound. 3, 5, 7. Unknown origin. Jack whispered. They're already here. Threxia's voice dropped. You brought the war to our doorstep. Jack looked at her, eyes fierce now. Then help me stop it, or Earth's next. She stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. You wanted coffee, she said softly. Now it's time for fire. The bulge diplomacy. The silence in the command room felt louder than the alarms. Jack stared at the screen. 7 incoming ships. Unknown origin. One thing was certain. They weren't friendly. The glowing red signatures blinked like angry eyes. Threxia stood frozen for only a second before she snapped into command mode. Shut down all outgoing channels. No signals, no replies, she ordered. Lock every dock, shields to maximum. A Hilari technician nodded and vanished into a panel, literally. Their bodies were partly digital. Some could phase into the ship's systems like ghosts. Jack had no time to be amazed. They're here because of me, he said. Because of my ship. Threxia looked at him. No. They're here because you're human. You're new. Unpredictable. That scares them. Jack's eyes didn't leave. The blinking dots. So what now? We wait to get blown out of the stars? Threxia shook her head. No, we invite them to talk. Jack blinked. You want to negotiate with the enemy? Her voice was calm. We don't know what they want. And in war, the first word can change everything. Preparing the stage, the main hall was transformed in under 15 minutes. It was an enormous oval chamber with floating lights that shifted to match the mood. At the center was a circular platform. Hilari protocol called it the speakring, a place where no weapon could be drawn, and every word was recorded in 3 dimensions. Threxia stood on the ring, armor glowing faintly, her status bulge polished and prominent. Jack stood beside her, trying not to stare this time. She had insisted he be part of the negotiation. They asked for you, she said. Specifically. By name. That's comforting, Jack muttered. Always wanted to be famous in the middle of an alien war. Threxia looked at him, voice. Oh, do not joke once they arrive. They do not understand humor. They see it as a form of threat or weakness. Noted. Enter the enemy. The chamber lights darkened as a ripple of energy filled the air. The enemy ships didn't dock. They didn't need to. Instead, they projected. 3 Dravari delegates shimmered into the ring. Tall, inky black figures with shifting bodies. Their faces were blank, not because they wore masks, because they had no faces. The central figure stepped forward. Its voice came from everywhere at once. We accept your invitation, Hilari, and your guest, the human. Jack stepped, forward, heart racing. He forced himself to stand tall. I'm Lieutenant Jack Renner of Earth, he said. You've sent threats, hacked systems, and now arrived with warships. What do you want? The Dravari turned toward him. Its body flickered like static. We want answers, it said. We want to know why a species that still kills its own, poisons its planet, and believes in fairy tales is being welcomed into the stars. Jack took a breath. Because we adapt, because we survive, and because we learn. The Dravari stepped closer. You looked at her status bulge, human, without knowing its meaning, and yet here you are, on a peace ring, speaking as an equal. Jack glanced at Threxia, who gave him a tiny nod. He turned back. Yeah, I messed up, but I owned it. That's what humans do. We screw up, then we grow. We learn from our worst moments. The Dravari's voice deepened. Or you pretend to, then you repeat them. Jack's hands clenched. You think we're weak, but we've crawled out of caves, fought monsters, and crossed galaxies. We don't need to be perfect to deserve respect. There was silence. Then, one of the Dravari delegates stepped forward. You are interesting, like a virus, quick to spread, hard to predict. The 3rd Dravari added, We offer terms. Jack raised an eyebrow. Terms? If Earth agrees to remain silent, to stay away from alliance matters, no colonization, no trade, no access to Hilari tech. Threxia's eyes flared. Unacceptable. That would isolate them. The Dravari's voice turned cold. Or we wipe the ship, erase this alliance, and Earth will never know how close it came. The diplomatic counterstrike. Jack looked at the floating lights. He thought about his coffee, about how this all started with one awkward glance and a bulge misunderstanding. Then he smiled. Fine, he said. I accept your terms. Threxia turned sharply. What? The Dravari paused. You do? Yes, Jack said calmly. But I want something small in return. The central Dravari tilted its head. What? I want you to tell your people, Jack said, voice steady, that you tried to scare one human with 7 ships, holograms, threats, and virus attacks, and he still stood on the ring, still said yes. The Dravari twitched. Jack stepped forward. I want your empire to remember that a race you think is weak wasn't afraid of you. Not for a second. The silence that followed was heavy. Then the Dravari shimmered, glitched, and vanished without another word. Aftermath. The chamber lights returned to normal. Jack looked at Threxia. Did I just start a war or stop one? She stared at him for a moment, then smiled. Both. Jack sighed. Typical human diplomacy. He looked at the floating tray of drinks nearby. Do you guys have whiskey too? He asked. Threxia chuckled. Let's find out. Meanwhile, Ishar deep space far beyond the Halari ship inside a hidden Dravari vessel, the three delegates reformed in a dark room. He is dangerous, one said. He is untrained, said the second. He is human, said the third. And all three spoke together. He is not ready, but he will be. Beneath the armor, HFY Sci-Fi. Third person 3 days had passed since the tense standoff in the speakering. No shots were fired, no war declared. The Dravari ships vanished into deep space like smoke on water, leaving no trace. But peace felt thin, fragile, like a thread stretched tight and ready to snap. Jack Renner had become a name whispered in Halari halls, repeated in alien council channels, and analyzed across coded networks. Not as a threat, but as an anomaly, he'd stood against the Dravari. He hadn't followed rules. He had made them. And now, everyone wanted to know what he'd do next. A sudden isolation. Jack's quarters felt smaller lately. No windows. No time. Markers. The ship ran on alien cycles that didn't match human biology. His internal clock was always confused. Sleepy during light, alert in total dark. He sat with his cold coffee, which still tasted more like hot dirt water, and stared at the wall. Then the door opened without a sound. Threxia entered, this time, wearing armor again. Not ceremonial, tactical. Come with me, she said simply. Jack stood up. What's going on? No time, she said. Follow me. Quietly. They moved fast through silent halls. No guards, no aides, no lights beyond low emergency mode. The ship was too quiet. This doesn't feel like a tour, Jack said. Threxia didn't respond. The hidden chamber. They stopped at a sealed door Jack had never seen before. No markings, no lights. Threxia placed her hand on the wall. A soft hum filled the air. The wall opened vertically, like a slice in space. Inside was a room filled with floating tech. Strange, beautiful, like stars trapped in glass. In the center, a stasis pod, pulsing slowly. Inside the pod was another Threxia. Jack stepped back. What the hell? The Threxia beside him removed her helmet. I'm not who you think I am, she said. Jack's breath caught. You're not the ambassador? I was once. Now I'm something else. He turned to the pod. Then, who's she? The real Threxia, the original. She's in stasis, frozen since the first Dravari war. Jack blinked. What? But how? The woman sighed. I'm a clone, a diplomatic construct. I was grown to replace her. The Halari High Command didn't want the galaxy to know she was injured. So they grew me, programmed me with her memories, her voice, her face, but not her decisions. Jack's world tilted. You've been pretending this whole time? No, she said. I've been Threxia. Until I started questioning orders. The secret of the status symbol. She stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly. Do you know why the bulge exists, Jack? Jack blinked. I thought it was authority, rank. It is, but not in the way you think. It's not just a symbol. It's a lock, a control device. Those who wear it are monitored, constantly. She tapped the side of her armor. The bulge pulsed. The Halari use these to ensure loyalty. Even emotions can be regulated. If a commander begins to disobey, the status symbol can override their decisions. It's a prison. Jack swallowed. So, all your leaders are just puppets? Yes. And the Dravari know this. That's why they fear humans. Because you can say something stupid, selfish, or brave and nobody stops you. Jack looked at her closely now. Why are you telling me this? Because they're coming, she said. The High Council. They want to silence you. Erase the embarrassment. Before humans become too visible. His voice lowered. They're going to kill me? No. Worse. They'll disappear you. Erase your data from the system, say you never existed. He turned to the stasis pod. And her? She's a witness, a problem. But if she wakes up, she can take her title back. She's the only one with enough status to block the council. Jack frowned. So wake her up. She hesitated. I tried, she said. But the controls are DNA locked. Only one person on this ship can activate the release protocol. Who? You. Jack's DNA secret. Jack stepped back. What? Why me? She turned toward the console and activated a screen. A human DNA strand spun in the air. Your ship's AI was compromised. We scanned your biology when you docked. What we found surprised us. The DNA spun faster. A red line lit up. You carry a sequence similar to Halari prime origin code, possibly due to old alien interference on Earth. Some call it alien seeding. Your species may be descended from us, Jack stared. You're saying humans and Halari are related? Distantly, she said, but enough to trick the system, enough to wake her. Jack turned to the sleeping ambassador. What happens if I do? She wakes. She calls the council. She demands a full inquiry. She puts Earth on the diplomatic map forever. Jack looked at the clone. And what happens to you? She smiled sadly. They delete me. My code is unstable. Illegal. I'm not supposed to exist. The choice. Jack stepped forward. His hand hovered over the activation panel. He looked back at her. You saved my life. You taught me how to stand here, how to talk, how to listen. She said nothing. You could have let me die, could have lied, still silence. So I'll return the favor, he said. He slammed his hand onto the console. The stasis pod hissed. Light burst outward. The sleeping Threxia opened her eyes, deep violet, burning with ancient power. The clone backed away, face in shadow. Goodbye, Jack. Jack turned, but she was gone. And elsewhere, far away, inside the Halari council chamber, lights turned red. A voice whispered through the system. Unauthorized DNA match detected. Original ambassador reactivated. All directives voided. Emergency session called. And in the dark, a group of hidden Dravari agents smiled. She played her part well, one said. The human made the right choice, said another. And now, let chaos begin. Understanding the strange. The true Threxia was awake, and the galaxy would feel the tremor. Jack stood silently in the chamber as the original ambassador sat upright in the now drained stasis pod. Her body glowed with raw, untamed energy, stronger, older, more regal than the clone. She looked at him for a long moment. Human, she said, voice smooth but commanding. What year is it? Jack answered. She closed her eyes, absorbing time like gravity. Then she whispered, They've gone too far. Elsewhere, the Halari High Council. Dozens of tall figures stood in a spiral formation, their status bulges glowing like warning beacons. This is unacceptable, one said. She was not meant to return, another growled. And the human knows, said a third. From the shadows, a Dravari agent stepped forward, face hidden, voice like static. The human has value. We underestimated him. A Halari elder stared. So did we. Then the alarm rang out. a deep chime that had not echoed in centuries. Legacy authority restored, Prime Ambassador reinstated, and the council began to fracture. Back on, the shipjack followed the awakened Threxia through silent, confused halls. Crew members bowed, unsure of what to believe. The clone was gone. No one spoke of her. The ship's systems welcomed the original like a long-lost queen. She led Jack to the observation chamber, a massive, transparent dome looking out into the stars. Earth was just a small dot on a projected map. She stood tall, her robes flowing like liquid metal. "You have seen too much," she said. Jack braced himself. "Are you going to erase me?" "No," she replied. "You saved me. You saved us, even when you didn't understand." He stepped forward. "Then tell me the truth." She nodded once. "The real history. Long ago, before the Alliance, the Hilari and Dravari were one species, siblings of logic and chaos. But when they discovered the ability to manipulate biological control, the status bulge, the loyalty systems, the genetic edits, they split. The Hilari embraced order, locking their leaders into armor and rules. The Dravari chose freedom and madness. They evolved into glitching phantoms, beings of both code and matter, infecting everything they touched. "You are part of this legacy," Threxia said. "Humans were touched by both. That's why you're unpredictable, dangerous, important." Jack let that sink in. "We're a bridge," he whispered, "between the lawful and the wild." "Exactly." She turned to him fully. "Which is why the Alliance will never accept Earth. Not easily, not quickly. You break balance." Jack nodded. "That's what we do." Final betrayal. Suddenly, the wall behind them shimmered. The clone stepped out of the shadows. But her face was different now. Half her skin flickered with Dravari distortion. "You woke her," she said, voice a mix of her own and static. "You made your choice." Jack stepped between the two Threxias. "You helped me," he said. "You knew this would happen." "I hoped you'd fail," she said, "but you didn't. Now I have to finish it myself." She raised a glowing spike from her hand, a weapon grown from her body. "Stop!" Jack shouted. But she didn't. "Aim at him." She rushed toward the real Threxia. Split-second decision. Jack moved without thinking. He tackled the clone mid-run. They both slammed to the ground. The weapon stabbed the floor beside him. She screamed, not in pain but in rage. "Why did you stop me?" Jack looked into her fractured face. "Because you were the most human thing I'd seen on this ship, until now." For a moment her eyes softened, then her body started to break apart, unstable, unsustainable. "I wasn't meant to live," she whispered, "but I almost did." And with one final pulse of static, she vanished. Code gone. Memory deleted. A ghost erased. Aftermath. The ship's systems normalized. The Council's power was broken. The Dravari vanished, for now. And Jack Renner stood beside the rightful ambassador as Earth was officially logged into the Galactic Register, but not as a minor species, not as a protected child race, as an equal. Final scene, a quiet conversation later under a star-filled sky in the observation dome. Threxia and Jack sat together in silence. She sipped her glowing drink. He held a warm cup of proper human coffee. This time, the real stuff. She looked at him with a soft curiosity. "You humans," she said. "You fall in love with danger. You stare into the unknown and flirt with it." Jack smirked. "Is that a compliment?" "Perhaps." She tilted her head. "Does the bulge between my legs still intrigue you, human?" Jack laughed. "For the first time in days. Not anymore," he said. Then looked into her glowing eyes. "But your mind does, and far away." In a Dravari vault of living code, a backup flickered. Her voice, the clone's data, not gone, just waiting. End of log 7. Human threat classified, not to be underestimated. Next protocol, begin Earth infiltration phase.